Hello everyone. Today, October 12, 2022, a Miami Herald article came out about Florida prisons having a long history of covering up scandals. Well, what's new? That's been reported through newspapers throughout the state of Florida for many times and many decades. When I say many decades, I can only go back to 1990 and speak forward. I cannot speak of anything prior to 1990. But, you know, I have a personal experience with understanding exactly what the article is saying, however, because I know they try to cover up some scandals from time to time. And we know that 3 prison inspectors had filed a Whistleblowers report back in 2014, filing against the Inspector General saying he's covering up scandals, covering up abuse cases, abuse of inmates, etc., etc. And they had to end up testifying not only in civil court, but they had to go before the legislature and testify. But in the end, these 3 prison inspectors of Florida got an $800,000 settlement, and they've now opened their own consulting firm. They left the agency after they won their case. I want to state that they won their case, and they got paid a settlement. Okay, in my eyes, if you get paid a settlement and everything is straightened out and everybody agrees, then you fought for your right, which I'm glad they did, and I'm glad they had the intestinal fortitude to step forward and speak up, and now they have their own law firm, or not a law firm, but actually a firm where they consult people who have issues with reported incidents among the Florida Department of Corrections. Now, for those officers that are men and women that are working in the Florida Department of Corrections, I want to say, the honest ones who come to work every day and do a hard job, we're very sorry that you have to go through these things and these articles that come out and all these incidents that occur because of those bad apples tainting your image. This is not about you today. This is about those bad apples. And sometimes the bad apples are not down on the front line. They're sometimes up in the management chairs, right? Now, look at Secretary Crosby, who got sentenced to prison for his scandals and cover-ups. And I have a personal experience with him that I'll talk about right now. A few years ago, I was on a show called Law Talk Radio, and we discussed my career and my book, Corruption Behind Bars, and we discussed how come I left the prison system and went to the Sheriff's Department. Well, here's why. Now, I've told this on Law Talk. I don't think I've told this on any of my videos. I get a call from my supervisor one day, and I'm at Charlotte Correctional Institution working in investigation. He says, "Hey, Gary, the Secretary of Corrections, Crosby, wants to give you a lateral movement." Now, I've been a prison inspector for 12 years, working over 100 cases a year, Inspector of the Year 1 year, and my boss said, "You're not going to lose any money, you won't lose any rank, you'll just go back to where you were 12 years ago when you came to the inspector's office as a Correctional Probation Officer 2, and we could put you in any office near your home that you want." So I'm listening to this thinking, okay, you're not going to put paper on me, you know, and you're not going to take away any money. What's the bottom line behind this? Well, I found out later from the chief inspector, who he said, "Gary, you do a great job. You always have done a great job." He called me direct. And, but you know, Secretary thinks you're a little bit aggressive. And what had happened was, I'd been going to some prisons, doing some investigations, and Secretary Crosby was raised from the bottom up, from a correctional officer all the way up to Secretary of Corrections, had something like 30-something years in. And I would find some wrongdoings among some of the people he put in higher positions. Nothing that would cost them their job, but maybe get them demoted in a couple of cases. You know, something in their file that they did wrong. And then I would notice that other people that are not on Crosby's bandwagon, they're not known to him, they're not a big fan of his, they're not kiss-ups, I guess you'd say, they would get an investigation on something and they would put the hammer down on them. You know, it's sort of like, you're not on my team, so I'll put the hammer down on you. And then for officers that did not know the Crosby clan, and were just out there doing a job and they made a mistake, they'd get hammered. And then this other officer who worked with Crosby up north, he'd get nothing. And if you think I'm the only one saying this, he was reported by an officer up north who had a family member that was the head of the Florida Department of Corrections. And he went to Daddy, hey, you got to use what you got to use sometimes, right? And said, hey, this is what's going on. And then the Crosby investigation started. Well, back to me. I was too aggressive. So I said, okay. I said, can you give me 90 days to finish up my investigations that are assigned to me? And then I'll go ahead and prepare for the move. I hate to leave these case files with other people. And they said, yes. So how bad could I be? You're going to leave me for another 90 days to finish my investigations I have assigned. So there's totally no issue with that. Unbeknownst to them, I said, I ain't going to sit around here and let you do this to me. I went over to the Pasco Sheriff's Department where a former senior prison supervisor, senior prison inspector supervisor from Orlando had become the head of the jail over there. And then the captain from that prison inspector's office, a senior prison inspector, he became captain at Pasco County Jail. I gave him a call. They said, get in here and bring your wife too, because my wife had had 20-something years with the prison system. And she even got a phone call one day at work from somewhere, but she knew it was a Tallahassee number. Tallahassee is where our main office is. And they told her, you know, you better put the reins on your husband or something to that effect. Well, hey, folks, I've been known to tell it like it is and tell the truth. And people don't like that when they're doing wrong things. They don't like the truth. They don't want to be told the truth. They definitely don't want somebody going around and doing investigations and showing them what's happening when they're in that type of position. Not all are that way. Long story short, we get hired by the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. We make more money, and we end up going to Polk County for another bonus and a pay raise, and ended up doing 12 years with Polk County Sheriff's Office, which is our county. And we ended up retiring with more money and better situation. So thank you, Secretary Crosby, for wanting to move me laterally back because I'm too aggressive. Well, you know why I was moved. But I didn't do a whistleblower thing. I just said the hell with you, basically, and went on to better, greener pastures. You know, they say the pasture's not greener on the other side. Well, for us it was in this case. Retired at a lot higher rate of pay and retired in 2018 from the Polk County Sheriff's Office. So I have some experience with how they like to handle things when they don't want the news to get out. They don't want bad things to happen. You know, and still, just with the past secretary we had, Mark Inch, we've had inmates beaten and abused, and I have to give credit in one area there. At least they were arrested and went to court. One was just sentenced here recently. So is it getting better? Looking from the outside in, I can only say it looks like it's getting better for Florida Department of Corrections. But this article did come out from the Miami Herald today about scandals have been a long time in Florida Department of Corrections. Well, we know that, but the public doesn't know it. So go ahead and get it out there. Now I'm going to tell my part of knowing how they handle things. They will move you laterally. They will try to find something on you if you're doing too good a job, finding out too many things. One quick story, I found out about an attorney that was taking money to move inmates. He would take $3,000 for him, and he would pay a classification supervisor up in Tallahassee in the main office a couple of thousand, and they would work together, and a family could pay $5,000 to have an inmate moved closer to home to any prison they want. Well, that's illegal, and that story is in my book, and it's been going on for a long time. I think the attorney was Dan Daly. I'm not sure, but it's in my book. I mean, the attorney's name was Dan Daly. but I'm not sure where his office was right now. I wrote the book back in 2012, and I also put newspaper articles and reports of any kind I could at the end with a link. That way, when I write these true prison stories, people don't say, yeah, sure, that really happened, a bunch of baloney. No, we have some documentation to back up the stories, and the stories had to be from my own personal investigations. So I went to my supervisor and said, hey, boss, I think we have an attorney, and I think we got somebody in classification up in Tallahassee making money off moving inmates closer to home. Well, he called the boss up in Tallahassee, and he calls me in the office and says, just leave that alone, just ignore it. I said, well, I got 5 different inmates at 5 different prisons that says their family can provide documents on that. And they said, leave it alone. It was time for me to go, and I sure am glad I went to the sheriff's office. Thank you, folks. Gary York, True Prison Stories. Take care. Subscribe if you like this video.